Hi everyone, this is the 22nd of August. This is the last ladies' coffee. I'm so glad you're all here. And we're going to talk a little bit about Galway stories or Ruback stories. And I'm just going to say I've been here since 1951. And my parents were Ethel and George Jooes, and they're both deceased within the last 11 years. And the first speaker will be Barb Orton.
Oh, thank you. Oh, this is 2006. Wow. My history started way before me up here. My mother's parents camped up here in 1920 when she was 2 years old and built their camp in 1921. And my father's parents camped up here. And in fact, their lot was owned by the Burning family. And Mrs. Burning, my grandmother talked to her, and Mrs. Burning decided that she didn't need that big lot, and it was all stumps and a mess down there anyway. So she split her lot and gave my grandparents like a third of it on the lake, which was very nice of her. And my grandfather built that camp in 1928. So my parents met up here, and the rest is history along that lines. So yeah, my grandparents, it was a long, long time. And my mother dated, she dated Harold Hanson before she dated my father. Yeah, I found that out, and I wish that I'd questioned them more, and I think we all do that with parents. Once they're gone, you don't get any answers, because my mom's been gone 3 years. My dad died this year. And my grandmother did write down a lot, so I do have a lot of things written down about up here, and lots of pictures, so that's good.
And what about the camp you're in now?
The camp I'm in now was my father's parents, and my sister Debbie has my mother's parents' camp. So we're hoping that they'll stay in the family for a long, long time. It definitely is a draw to get our children back here because they're all far away now, and summertime is the one time that we get everyone here. So special place, very special place. And who should be next?
Let's see. My parents built the camp in 1932, and I'm just lucky enough to be an only child, so now it's mine. But I was just writing down some of the things that I remember as a real small kid. Where's Ann? You're over here. Help me out with this. We always used to do a talent show. I can remember I'm a little teapot, short and stout, and singing "You Are My Sunshine," and I think Mrs. Killian, and Madeline Hanson did that way back when. And Quizzo has been around, except it was bingo, ever since I can remember. And but we used to use a bullhorn to call the numbers instead of the electrical equipment that sometimes doesn't work now. And do you remember Folster's Farm up where the Salt Hill Club is now? We used to walk up there to get chickens and eggs because they had a working farm back then. We also had the Freihofer man, the milkman, and the vegetable man come through. And do you remember the vegetable man had a horse? Seems to me he had a horse. I remember this big long
He
wagon.
did in Scotia. I mean, there was a vegetable man.
A big long wagon with all kinds of melons and vegetables all along the side of it.
That's when everybody had one car. So
Yeah, I mean,
go shopping.
Yeah.
And then some of the things I remember from World War II, they had a bus. As I remember, it was a school bus. And the men that were up here used to take the bus into work every morning. And I remember VJ Day very clearly because it was a big to-do. Everybody screaming and yelling and bells and sirens. And they had a huge bonfire down on the main beach to celebrate that. I remember walking through the path up here, and I remember all the hullabaloo that day. And not too many people had phones in those days either. My father worked for the power company, so we were one of them. I think Vanderpool's had one, and I think there was one at the store, but there weren't many phones, and they were all 8-party lines. So when you didn't pick up the phone when it rang, you waited. I think our ring was 1 long, 2 short, 1 long, and there were all these different
I remember.
rings before you could pick up your phone. And of course we all had pumps in our kitchens and outhouses, most everybody, and bathed in the lake and washed our hair in that wonderful lake water. And the tin tub for the bath once a week. I wrote down a lot of this stuff. And I guess the treasure hunts back then were more of a scavenger hunt. As my mother tells it, they were out looking for things, not clues, but they'd go on till 3 in the morning up to Lake George. All
my God.
creation. Yes, because she said it was more a scavenger hunt. And I don't know if anybody remembers Carrie Ruback and her holy black wool bathing suit with the long legs on the main beach.
Most of us are younger than
But I mean, that was an event when Carrie Ruback came down to the main beach in that holy black wool bathing suit. It was really funny.
Is that
And-
the wife of Ed?
No.
Wife?
No, it was
It's his
a
sister.
little
Oh, it's sister.
slightly
Sister? I think it was his
weird
sister.
relative.
Yeah. Cousin or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I'm not sure. But, and we also had pumper number 1, our little fire engine, that you had to hook up to a bumper hitch, and they had, I think, 500 gallons in it that could start, and then the hoses ran down to the lake. And there were call boxes, one at Brewmaster's, one at the burning camp, Sindel camp, and they had fire drills. And I can remember it was, I think, down by your camp. They would, test the hoses out. And one year, all the mice that were nested in the hoses came flying out.
Nice.
That was really funny. But yeah, they had the fire drills. And of course, long distance call to Schenectady. So we didn't use the telephones much, and the mailman coming at 10 in the morning was a big event, because all the kids, wrote each other. They didn't use the phones. And Rollings used to be a public beach, and they used to rent boats. And I can remember there was like cement. Do you remember that, Ann, going over?
What was that?
Rollings, the cement, like,
I remember
instead
that.
of the sand.
Oh, instead of sand.
Yeah, and there was
I just remember the high dive
Yeah.
story, and I love that.
but we used to go over there once in a while for a little excitement. Let's see. And there used to be 2 ice houses, which are now both gone. There was one in back of Tequila's, and then one up by us. Used to be, that's where they kept the ice for ice boxes, if anybody knows what those are.
Well, that was Ed Ruback used to harvest the ice
Yeah.
from the lake in the winter and
Yeah,
get the ice for there.
yeah.
And who harvested?
Ed Ruback.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
He was looking out for the campers.
Uh,
Nancy, what was that about the phone system? If someone got a call at the camp store, weren't there boys that would run and
Yeah,
tell
if
somebody,
was
and they'd get
up
50
there.
cents or something?
Oh, they got a nickel.
A nickel? 50 cents?
And some of the funnier things I remember from, being a teenager, that of our campers had a horse up in the field, Tim Johnson. And one day, Rusty decided he was thirsty and came down to the main beach to get a drink.
Oh,
You can imagine how well that went over with everybody. And then Betty Ruggiero was a little bit timid, and some of the older kids rigged up a ghost on the path up here cutting through. And when Betty started to walk across the path, they pulled the sheet across. I don't think Betty's been the same since.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, there was the outhouse on the.
Yeah, the outhouse on
raft.
the main raft.
Oh, Livingston and
Yeah.
Burmaster.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
that was
Doug
Burmaster.
Livingston, yeah, that was older,
Oh,
Yeah.
older gentleman.
I guess that's all I can remember. But
We used
you
to
know, I started writing these things down, and I
keep going and going.
yeah,
They
on
bring
the
things
work
to mind,
parties with the dirt roads, and they used to spread salt to keep the dust down.
too. We used to have square dances.
Yeah.
Oh, there were a lot of activities. And of course, the talent show was big. That was really big.
And I think that, if I remember, they used to hold the annual dinners at the Baptist Church in the basement in Scotia. I can remember going there once. Oh yeah, the big treat, of course, was when the store had food. We used to save our money up and get a hot dog and a milkshake. You know, that was
French
a big
fries.
deal. French fries,
Yeah,
yeah.
French fries, hamburgers.
Yeah.
They had canned goods too.
Oh yeah.
You could do quite a bit of shopping there. You had a running tab. My parents had a running tab at the store with
Nancy?
Leona and
Well,
Earlettes.
I remember one thing about the ladies. They would have a covered dish luncheon instead of coffees. And they would get dressed. They would actually wear dresses and you know, whatever their heels were at that time, not the spiked heels. And it was a real event. It was a true event. Some of them even wore hats. I mean, it was fancy here at camp. So, why don't we do that? That's it. That's great.
Gloves and the little black dress.
Nancy, do you remember the jukebox at the
Oh yeah.
at the
I wish
store?
my husband hadn't thrown it out.
The what? Oh, jukebox?
There used to be a little
Beautiful.
small jukebox in the side of the store for a nickel.
Oh, that's right.
And
That's before
my husband ended
the...
up with the thing because it broke, and now, of course, I wish we had it. Probably
I
be
forgot
worth
about
the
that
bucks.
little one.
Yeah, it was just a little one, a little hole in the side of the store.
But we danced up there every night with that jukebox. The girls did.
Boys were playing basketball. and
Yeah,
the girls
yeah.
were dancing.
Girls were dancing.
Those are good memories, Nancy.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
started writing down last night, and it was fun.
Reminisce.
There were a lot of romances up here too, which should segue to Jan.
My name is Jan Hanson, and my grandfather had our camp built, I think, in 1929. And he actually took my parents-in-law's father to look at new camps or at camps to buy when they were looking for a camp. So actually, my grandfather helped sell the camp that my husband's family bought. So yeah, but anyway, so our camp is it's now shared between or among my there's four girls in my family and my brother, and we take turns up here. And it is a place where people come back, even no matter how far away they go. I have a sister in California. She comes back, and her children have felt close enough to come back on occasion. And my other family lives in Illinois, and they come back pretty routinely also. So it is a place that kids establish memories and have a feeling about the place, and they want to come back and recapture that feeling, and they want to have it for their children and share it. So my husband and I met. I always thought he was a little spoiled brat because he had all the toys. He was like he was a little boy, that came to a family with already had 2 girls who were grown, so his parents were happy to have him. They gave him lots of things, I think, but that was my impression, was that he was spoiled. And I think we sort of started liking each other probably when we were about 16 or so. Yeah. And then we were off and on, and finally we got married later. So we're still up here. My parents-in-law have sold their camp, and we have kept ours. I'm trying to think if there was any. My mom had shared a lot of stories about having the camp at different points. She talked about, being up here during the war, and she had my brother and my sister, and doing the diapers. There was at that point there was no diaper service or something like that, and so they did all their cleaning was all by hand out, and the kids got bathed in this aluminum pan that we still have, that out in the sun. That was it. Put the pan out in the sunshine to warm up, and then stick the kids in the pan and wash them. And I'm trying to think of some other things. I know we had, growing up here, my mom had favorite farmers that we would go to get different fruits and vegetables in the summertime, and it was always kind of, these were strange old men, that had these little old farmhouses that were kind of always almost falling apart, and you wondered how they kept subsisting. And but she always would go back to these same folks, and we did as long as we could too. I think that's probably about it. I'll chirp in if I hear something else that reminds me of something.
I'll finish this room and then you can go to the next then. Mine is short. My name is Linda Dettbarn, and my husband Albert and I bought our camp in 1983. We bought it from James and Teresa Butch. Prior to that, at some point, I know it was owned by the Russells, who were Bob Dahlrymple's grandparents, because I know when he was here a couple summers ago, we had him into the camp, and he thought, oh gosh, this is great, it looks just the same. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but regardless, it looked just the same. Our son Carl was 3 years old when we bought the camp. At some point when he became old enough, he took on the paper route. He had the paper route for 6 years. He had the store for 7 years. So we were very much entrenched in the Ruback's Grove life. My husband was president of the Grove at one point, and it's been a very big part of our family life to be here at Ruback's. And Carl still comes back on occasion. He was here this year for the treasure hunt. He was here for 7 hours. So if you weren't at the hunt, you missed him. But he apparently holds it very dear to his heart as well, which is nice. So, next.
Hi, my name is Kathy Lauritzen. We bought our camp here in Ruback's Grove in 1985 from Edgar and Esther Prey. It was just a tiny little place. My husband called our main room the elk room because it was the eating, living kitchen room. And we had 2 little bedrooms, and we added on to it and made it our summer home, and came every summer from the day school ended, went home on Labor Day after the pancake breakfast, and thoroughly enjoyed our time here. Our daughter babysat for numerous people here. Our son had a paper route, like Linda's son Carl. He also ran the store for a number of years. His last year, as he was getting ready to go off to Clarkson, he left, and I did the paper route and ran the store for 2 weeks. Once was enough, but it was a good experience. We have since sadly sold our camp, and Barbara Orton kindly invites me every year to come to a ladies' coffee, so I get to see everyone and renew friendships and get updated as to what's been happening.
And I think, Kathy, you always prided yourself on not ever going back to town over the summer.
No, I did not want to go back. I sent my husband, he mowed the lawn, I went to Amsterdam to get the groceries, went to the laundromat in town. I was not going back.
And if it wasn't done by noon,
It didn't get
It
done.
didn't get done.
Because I spent the afternoon on the beach, exchanging recipes, stories. We had a ball. We had a really good time. So Ruback's Grove is near and dear to my heart, and always will be.
Yeah. And I think you instituted the dessert night, or not?
Yes,
I think you
yes,
did.
yes, we did. And when my husband was president, I got really involved in all the social activities and had a ball doing that too. It was a lot of fun.
Where was your camp?
Our camp was, well, they call, it's the driveway right across from here, from Joseph's camp. And they call that little road Ice House Road because the little ice house that someone had mentioned was partway down the road, and we were kind of tucked back in the woods. We sold it to a family, their name I think is Geokas.
Yeah,
Geokas
they're
Fairgrounds?
still here.
Are they still
Yeah.
here?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, right, so we thoroughly enjoyed it.
Kathy, I know about your camp before you came, and so what you guys did to your camp
Uh-huh.
is so huge because
Yeah,
that
that
was
was
the place to, it was Balsh's camp, and it was a young man's place to go and party, and
It's a party. There were young girls that went there and partied
I
too.
know it had,
I was just a little too young for
Yes,
that,
you
but I
were.
knew of people who went there and
Oh,
partied.
we were there all the time at Balch's camp.
Yeah, it was and
Penny
I
was
remember
like-
being very impressed. There was a beer can pyramid that was, yeah.
oh, funny.
And so when I saw it, after you did your big renovation, I thought, oh my gosh, and thinking back with that can.
What it was. Well, it
was
had
really
a
porch.
two outhouses, a one-holer and a two-holer. The two-holer we converted into a storage shed, and the one-holer we tore down because it was really leaning. And we found a sign inside that was the name of the camp. Was it Tumble In or
Tumble in.
Tumble In?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it was called. So,
Fall in,
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
so a great place.
Yeah. We had a three-holer outhouse
Whoa.
that Albert is in the process of renovating.
Oh, really?
That's,
Okay.
yeah, three-holer, yeah.
Neat. That's
I don't
neat.
know why.
Wow. Good. Good.
Ours was 2.
all that company?
Do you have more to say, or Joan?
I just have been filling in, just remembering things. I was saying to Nancy Jackson when she talked about the telephones, my parents didn't have a phone. We didn't need a phone.
Yeah.
We didn't have hot water. We didn't have a shower until I was gone. It's like, come on. But the telephone, when I was dating my husband, they'd have to come from next door. Negus had a phone, and he'd call their camp, and they'd have to come and get me. And my father would get so mad. He's interrupting their dinner, and da-da-da. I said, well, hey, get a telephone then, Dad.
I remember your mother saying on her 13th birthday that she danced on the roof of our garage.
Wow.
Because it was easy to get onto the roof, it's kind of into the hillside there.
Well,
And it's because of your dad telling my dad about the Balch's camp being for sale,
Yeah,
that we're here.
Well, Barbara helped us find our camp too, because
Yeah.
we came up and would
to
visit
help
Barbara and
us
John.
with our camp. And
And then the work on the camp.
Kathy, she just loved going camping every weekend, where she spent 2 days getting ready and then 2 days coming back
In
and
our
cleaning
pop-up
up. And I'm
campers.
thinking,
Right.
that's what you want to do? When you can be here?
Well, changed.
Yes,
Right on camera.
Right on time.
You weren't moving when I
The other-
stopped for you.
The other thing that I have that I love is a picture of it's either my uncle or it'd be my mother, as a baby on the big rock, with my grandfather holding her on the big rock at the beach. So that's really cool to have it go back that far. That had to be 1920.
The thing I remember about the main beach, going down, was the wrought iron railing and the wrought iron steps.
Steps, yep.
Yep.
Is that over, was that taken away, or is that?
it's
became
gone.
unsafe, I think. They built a wooden
Yeah.
Yeah, it was no
staircase.
fire escape.
Did somebody?
It was an old
somebody
fire
burn it?
escape?
Ramsey built a new.
Right. What happened to the old one?
I don't know.
Nancy, isn't it still over?
That's somebody else's.
That's somebody else's?
Yeah.
It looks just like it though, right? Doesn't it?
Well,
A little bit.
The
that's
green
just
rickety-
stairs though, yeah. That was there at the
But
same time.
this is a metal apparatus. That's somebody else.
That was there.
Oh,
That's
that was
been
there.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot we used to have pony rides at the Kids' Day when I was little.
Mm.
We used to bring 2 ponies.
Wow.
I'm Joan Brown, and I'm new to Ruback's Grove. I married Dale Brown, who he and his first wife, who deceased, bought from the Summers. And he did that on the recommendation of Barbara's mom and dad, who he was very close friends with. And we met about 6 months before July 7th of 2001, and that's the date that we were married. We were both widowed. And we had a private wedding, and we had a lot of Dale's Ruback's friends at our wedding party, of which Barbara and her husband and many here had come. And after that big party, we had a family get-together because our families were from all over the country, and we had that on the back porch of Dale's camp. So this is my 6th summer, and I have been welcomed, and it really brings tears to my eyes because they've made me feel so much a part, and I was concerned about that. I believe that the camp, or we believe that the camp was probably built in 1924. And we believe that because when we renovated some of the camp, it was built with insulating it with newspapers. And we have a wonderful article about Calvin Coolidge, and I was an original Vermonter. So I have saved that and preserved that and framed it, and that hangs in the camp, and it always will. As well as back of the, what do you call that? Plasterboard or whatever it was. There's a painting, and it was a study of an Indian. And apparently, the former owner's nephew was an artist. And of course that didn't show up inside because it was on the back, and we have that framed, and that will always stay with the camp. Dale has 2 children as well as I do, and they both come, and the grandchildren come as well as mine, and we have a wonderful time. We have a good time on our street. We have gone to a couple of cruises together, and we are going to be living near Clifton Park, near the rest of the snail pace lane, so we started that. Now, one thing that I started was I was called the first bride and of a second marriage. And we were married in, as I said, July of 2001. And then the second bride was Pat Wallace. And the third bride was Bernice Nile. And the fourth bride was BJ Dahlrymple. So we call our area Lover's Lane. But I certainly enjoy, and as long as Dale and I are together, we'll be here every summer. And we very seldom go home except to go up to Saratoga to SPAC once in a while. And we only live in Saratoga too, so no, we like it very much. And I really, from the bottom of my heart, I thank everybody for making me feel so welcome.
So nice. How far back does it go that Dale gave sailboat lessons?
Oh,
to the
he's
kids?
always given sailboat lessons,
I think
hasn't
so.
he? Yes, yes. And in fact, someone asked me today if he would, and I answered for him because he always told me if someone wants sailboat lessons. And in fact, we had an auction at my church, and we gave that as a token of our contribution, and someone from our church bid on that for $75.
Nice.
Wow. So he's still doing that.
I'm gonna keep going. We're supposed to be picking blueberries.
Okay, Nancy, thanks
Thank
for
you,
coming.
Nancy.
My husband is birthday pie.
Thanks, Nancy.
Nancy,
Bye-bye.
nice to see you.
Hmm.
Who wants to go?
Introduce-
Oh, no.
Yes.